So, was NPR within its legal rights to fire Juan Williams? The company is funded in part by taxpayer money. Joining us right now is Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Morning, guys.
So, could this wind up in court?
Such a painful situation. One such a wonderful human being with whom we've all enjoyed working. There is one way that I think this could work out and end up in court. Now, I've done the research and looking at NPR. It's a very unique entity that is owned by the 910 radio stations that are its members. The First Amendment is not involved here. Even though NPR receives government funds, it's such a small percentage of its operating budget that it's not deemed a government-owned entity. Therefore, the First Amendment, which only restrains the government, does not restrain NPR. But there is a law in Washington, D.C., where NPR is headquartered, which said you cannot suffer an adverse employment decision, like promotion or firing, as a result of those with whom you associate when you're not at work. Now, with whom does Juan associate when he's not at work at NPR?
Fox News.
That would be us. Right.
Evil Fox News.
So if he were able to demonstrate to a court that he was fired for that reason, the court would order that the salary that he lost from the day of his firing to the end of his contract be paid to him. It might even order punitive damages against NPR and toward him.
Because really his contract was supposedly up in April of this next coming year.
Correct.
So what you're saying is it would not be retroactive at all. It would just be from the day of firing till April.
To the end of the contract. Whatever the salary that he would have earned in that time period is what he would ask a jury to compensate him for. And then he might ask the jury to punish NPR for the crude, reprehensible way in which it treated him, especially compared with the way it has treated other persons on their
And so you could enter in that? You could enter in past ways in which they've treated other employees?
You could if you were trying to get what we call punitive damages, where you're trying to punish the defendant for inappropriate behavior.
Well, what about the fact that the ombudsman for NPR is now online saying, yeah, we handled this badly?
You know how badly they handled it? That president of NPR must be giving their lawyers a lot of agita. When she said Juan needs a psychiatrist, wow. She slandered Juan. She suggested the involvement of the Americans for Disability Act. She didn't know what she was talking about.
So if she wanted, or if he wanted to, could he use her comments? Could he use the ombudsman's comments?
Yes. Frequently when a person is fired because management doesn't like them, management comes up with a pretext for the firing. The more this lady talked, the less credible her pretexts appeared to be.
See what you think about this statement. This is the NPR statement. Juan has been a valuable contributor to NPR and public radio for many years. However, his remarks on the O'Reilly factor this past Monday were inconsistent with our editorial standards and practices and undermined his credibility as a news analyst with NPR. That is from the CEO, Vivian Schiller.
This undermines the credibility of NPR, but it doesn't impair their ability to fire Juan.
So if Juan would have made those statements on, say, CNN or on the Charlie Rose show, chances are he'd still have his radio job.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And if he could demonstrate that to a jury, jackpot.
Well, that's a double standard, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, bottom line is NPR is, even though it's a nonprofit corporation, is governed by the same federal laws against discrimination and District of Columbia laws against discrimination as everybody else. But because it's not owned by the government, the First Amendment is not implicated.
Okay, but there is some taxpayer money in there. They're talking about defunding. We're going to talk about that in the next hour. Judge, we thank you very much.
Pleasure, guys. Have a great weekend.
You as well.